Hey everybody, welcome back to From the Cheap Seats. I am your host, Charlie Jimenez, and join me and my NBA expert, Charles Campbell, as we discuss the NBA shakeups that are going on today, the various trades that have happened, Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, Ben Simmons signing with the Clippers, and join us as we also discuss our top 5 teams in the NBA. So we're seeing a lot of disputes in the NBA today. In particular, right now we have the Timberwolves ownership, and to me it looks like a messy divorce settlement where you have one side, Glenn Taylor, who's trying to back out of a deal he already made, and the other side that's trying to take what's rightfully theirs, A Rod and Mark Lore. And it's just a chaotic mess right now. But speaking of the Timberwolves, Charles, what do you think of the Timberwolves right now, like their playoff chances? Do you think Ant can lift them to the playoffs at all?
Yeah, I think anytime when you have a guy like Anthony Edwards, you're going to have a playoff team. They're not the same team as last year. I personally think they lost that Cat Julius Randle trade, so I don't think they're going to get past the first round. But I think they are a very good playoff team, and they could make some noise. We'll see. Only time will tell.
I think they could be a second round exit at best because I feel like you're forced into so many situations now. Because Anthony Edwards, to me, has regressed in a way because he's taking so much 3 pointers. He's trying to be Steph Curry. He's trying to do what the Celtics did to win their championship, and that's closing so many opportunities. Like I could see if they did it, if it was both him and Cat, I'd get it. But right now he's trying to make up for what they lost with Cat, and he's limiting the amount of 3 point opportunities for the team overall because now they're just guarding that. They know that the Wolves are just going to chuck up threes and hope their defense gets stops. And so I think Ant needs to go back to doing, well, for me at least, I think he needs to go back to driving in the paint, layups, and dunks, maybe mid range shots. I think that would really help open up opportunities for the team a little bit more. But after the last episode, because if you recall, we talked about Jimmy Butler and like where he'd possibly go, and if the Warriors got him, and you were over there saying that it would be a complete locker room mess if they got him. So, what do you think, Charles? What do you think about him going to the Warriors?
You know, we've seen what 1 or 2 games now with him on the Warriors. He put up some good numbers, and I think I might have changed my mind. I'm looking at Jimmy Butler as being the next Andrew Wiggins. Back on that, I think it was 2022 championship team that the Warriors had. Andrew Wiggins was that X factor. He's that piece that really put them over the edge. And I'm thinking Jimmy Butler could be that, put up 20 points a game, and then absolutely lock down their opponent's best guard. And so I think that would be huge. Something that the Warriors desperately needed was perimeter defense, but also a scoring liability that you can throw out there and get 20 points a night. So it'll be great.
Yeah, I agree with that in a sense. And in remarks to your locker room discussion last time about how it's kind of poisonous for them, I think that's going to get worked out pretty quickly because Jimmy Butler was the leader in most places he went. He was the voice in his locker room. And you kind of saw when he didn't get his way with the locker room that he felt like wasn't trying to do anything. The Sixers, he kind of like dipped. But in this case, you've got a locker room that's always motivated. You've got Draymond Green, who I consider, despite getting into wrestling matches with people of the likes of Rudy Gobert and all of that, I think Draymond's one of the best leaders in the NBA. And I think he will definitely do a great job at keeping Jimmy in line from all this self love type deal. And I do think after these past few games, like where we saw that like massive comeback by the Warriors as of recent, I'm impressed with how much they've adapted. And I think they could make a playoff push. We'll see. I don't think them second round contenders just yet. But I've got to ask, what are your thoughts, since we're speaking of trades, of Ben Simmons going to the Clippers? What do you think about that, Charles?
He gets a lot of hate as of recently, and honestly, the past couple of years. Is can he stay healthy? Can he put that team on his back? And I don't think he's ever going to be a starter as far as the next couple of years or for the rest of his career. But I think he's a great addition, to be honest with you. Someone who can go up there, D up, and come off the bench if he can find his role. I mean, he's an NBA All-Star, All NBA kind of guy back in his day, and then now he's coming off the bench. And so I think from a moral, prideful aspect, if he can come off that bench, know his role, D up, and get you a couple buckets every night, I think it's a solid addition. Can he do that? I do not know. Only time will tell, but I think if he can fill that role, it's going to be a great addition for the Clippers.
So here's the thing with me. I've never been the biggest Ben Simmons fan. Him and Kawhi, I think they get injured too often. For me, Ben Simmons like signing with the Clippers is like the Clippers trying to reboot an old phone. They don't know whether it was a hardware issue where it was just like little things that hurt it, or it's a software issue, in my opinion, where he just simply doesn't want to play after all the criticism he got. We're not taking those 3 pointers back when he was with the Sixers. That's what lost him all his respect. And who knows? Maybe they can reboot him up, get the best version of Ben Simmons possible. And real quick, everybody's always chirping about Anthony Davis and the fact that he gets injured a lot. But I'd like to let the public know that Anthony Davis, in all his team's regular season games, he's missed 60. He's been in 67.8% of them. That's only the regular season though. But for Ben Simmons has only played in about 55.6% of his career regular season games for his teams. And that's including the one entire year he missed. And I feel like a lot of them have been personal issues rather. Like what we saw with Kawhi when Kawhi was like they knew he was healthy. Like the San Antonio Spurs team knew he was healthy, but he kind of didn't want to play, and like that dangerous atmosphere is what caused him to leave the Spurs and leave that team a mess. Now they've got Wemby. He's hopefully going to lift them up to the playoffs, and along with De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell. But overall, I think Ben Simmons on the Clippers. Now they've got two of the guys who, to me, don't really want to play basketball. It seems like so. I'm gonna tell them have fun with that. Charles, what do you? Since we're on the topic of teams, what do you think? Who are your top 5 teams in the NBA right now, Charles?
I think honestly, number one without a doubt is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I There is no really other answer than that at the number one. I feel like they're the deepest team in the NBA. You have guys like Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, and honestly both Jalen Williams, who are defensive minded. As long Shea is defensive minded too, I think. He's still putting up 30 points a game, but he's defensive minded as well. And when you have like 5, 6 guys that'll go out there and put defensive first, you have a championship team. And honestly, they're by far the favorites to win the championship. I really don't see any of the other teams coming close. I think at best the Celtics or Cavs might pull out one game in the finals if they were to meet there. Number 2 on my list would be the Cavs. They have the best record in the East. You have a backcourt of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, and then your big men duo of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Tandems like that can't go wrong with. They're definitely number 2, definitely over the Celtics in my opinion. But hey, at number 3 I have Celtics, and they won the chip last year. I think that they're the second most deep team as far as bench. You have guys like Peyton Pritchard coming off there who are just killers on the offensive side of the ball. They shoot the most threes in the league, and I think that's my only issue with them is they live and die off the three, and that can come back to hurt you if you got to shoot the ball well, and if you're not, you're going to lose a game. So,
To reinforce his point on that, the Celtics did tie the NBA record for most threes in a game. I think it was 28,
mm,
28 or 29 in the first game of the season. So I could definitely see where he's going with that. But what's your third team, Charles?
yeah, it's actually the fourth, but it's the Knicks. As I said earlier, Cat in the Julius Randle trade, I think the Knicks won by far. Cat is by far a better offensive threat, and he's willing to go out there and hustle on defense. And I'm a very defensive minded person, and I think Cat, along with Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and your all star, all NBA guy in Jalen Brunson, they're a very solid team. I could definitely see them making a push towards those Eastern Conference Finals, and I would love to see a deep playoff push for them. So that would be cool. Number 5 is Grizzlies. They are my dark horse. A lot of people don't think that they should be at the number 5, but I have them there. I think if the only issue, Jaw has to stay healthy. If Jaw's hurt, they are top 10 maybe. But if you can have Jaw staying healthy, being consistent, and you have the rest of your team producing like they have, I don't I don't see anyone else who might take that spot. I mean, you have the Nuggets and maybe the Rockets, but I think the Grizzlies has solidified and shown enough proof that they can be a number 5 team.
Hot take. Okay, well, we're gonna get to my top 5 teams. I'm gonna have a talk with you about the Grizzlies afterward. I think obviously I totally agree with Charles on this one. I think it's by far and away the Thunder. They are winning by an average of 13.8 per game. For example, if you recall the in the past few years, the in the past 10 years, the biggest point differentials we've seen are the Warriors twice and then the Bucks and last year's Celtics. Now the top two were the Warriors and Celtics. It was the 2016-17 Warriors. They won each game by 11.6 points per game, and the Celtics won by 11.3 last year after the 64-18 win season. But now, this Thunder team, they're younger than them and they're winning by almost 14 points a game. That is absurd to me. And I feel like after last year, especially, after that loss to the Mavs, congrats on that, by the way, back when they did have Luka. But I think they've got the experience they need now in the playoffs, and I think they're maybe ready to make a big run. I totally could see them winning the championship. I definitely could agree with Charles on that one. And they obviously have the best NBA's best defense right now, restricting teams to 104.8 points per game. And they're led by MVP candidate and league leading scorer Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. That's a dangerous, dangerous starting five they still have there. I don't know. Is Chet Holmgren healthy?
I saw some reports that he should be coming back soon. Don't fact check me on that though, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure he's coming back soon.
He was a defensive player of the year candidate. That could really hamper teams when it comes to the Western Conference Finals. But second overall, I'm going to have to disagree with Charles on this one. I do think it's the Celtics. They may not have a bigger point differential than the Cavs do, but we recently saw them beat the tar out of the Cavs. It may have been a close score. It looked like 112 to 105. But I think he and I could both agree they were starting to kick their butts until they started to give them garbage points toward the end of the game. And so I do think the Celtics are a better team than the Cavs. And they do have, when it comes to the playoffs, you'll see them, yeah, sure, you'll see them like make a big push like later on regular seasons. Then you'll see that immediately translate into the playoffs. Like we've seen them, was it 3 years in a row where they made the conference championship? That to me is absurd. They almost had a 3-0 comeback too, if it weren't for Hemi Butler and the Heat. But yeah, I think they're the obvious second. They could take number one from the Thunder. We'll get a preview of that on March 12th. Also, the Celtics team, they lead the NBA in three-pointers made per game. And at number 3, I have to put the Cavs, 3 All-Stars, best record in the East at 43-10. They did recently fall to the Celtics, as I said, so that's why I had to drop them down to 3. But I think this year, because I don't know if you recall, earlier in the offseason, we were hearing thoughts about Darius Garland wanting to possibly leave the Cavs. And I know that because I'm a Spurs fan. The Spurs kind of wanted to acquire him. But I think they've done a great job at distributing the ball around Darius Garland, not putting Donovan Mitchell in too many ISO situations as we saw last year against the Celtics. And I think Jared Allen, obviously, he is very worthy of that All-Star that everybody gave him. They are also second in team points per game, 122.5. The first is the Grizzlies, but I still have something on that. And then they're also first in three-point percentage with 39.5. And they've just been able to use Garland and Mitchell interchangeably. I think they're a good championship threat. And number 4, I'm going to have to put the Nuggets. I put them over the Grizzlies because I feel like Memphis will somehow get riddled with injuries toward the end of the season. That's just me. I could be wrong on that. Either that or they make a trade for Draymond Green. I've heard a lot of that circling the NBA recently. The Nuggets, though, they are the third best offense in the NBA with 121 points per game. I also believe that Jokic will go ahead and win his 4th ever MVP in his star-studded career, and well accomplished, and he'll lead his team to at least a conference championship. I feel like if they're going to fall to anybody, it's the Thunder, and I'd even see that going down in 6 games. I think Jokic and his team will put up a good fight. I think what they've been able to do with Russell Westbrook out there recently as a 6 man, I thought that I want him to win Six Man of the Year, by the way. I'm a fan of that if that happens. But I think that's pretty good. He's making Jamal Murray actually work to get his buckets more than ever now. And number 5, I have the Knicks. I love what they've got going down in the Big Apple. I think they could really make a conference championship run. Carl Anthony Towns, I thought that trade was little bit ridiculous to me last year because I thought Julius Randle was pretty good last year. It's definitely working out in their favor. I know he's a big name on the team, but I think he gets overlooked a lot. I think Mikal Bridges was one of the best possible additions defensively they could have gotten. And I think him pairing up with Cat, because if you recall, Cat was able to hold off Jokic last year in that second round matchup between the Wolves and the Nuggets. So I seriously think that's gonna their defense might. I love Jalen Brunson as scoring. Don't get me wrong, but I think their defense might win them the championship if they go that far. Because now they have to get past the Cavaliers, the Celtics. They're gonna have to go through one of those two teams. They want to make it past the first round, I think. So, Charles, I gotta ask: do you think Ja will stay healthy for the rest of the season? Like, where do you? I want you to go more in depth on what you think will happen with the Grizzlies if they are fully healthy going into the playoffs.
If they're fully healthy, and that's always a big question, and it sucks because Jaw is All NBA first, second team easy, if he's healthy. But I think the training staff out there in Memphis is working overtime, trying to make sure he's staying healthy, giving him some off games on those back to back games. But I think he can. I think he can do it. He's played for the most part the majority of the season. He's had a couple here or there small injuries, but he's bounced back. Still looks super explosive. Looks like the Jaw we all know. I think Jaw's the key. His health, and you mentioned Denver going at the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. If Jaw's healthy, I think it's a Thunder and Grizzlies.
That's okay. I could see that. I don't know if y'all have noticed recently, but you've seen all these Morant highlights of him doing like spectacular layups behind the back and all that. And he did recently come out and say he's not dunking because he wants to stay healthy. And I'm not typically a Jaw fan, but I do kind of approve of that. That's kind of earned my respect slightly. Not for all the gun violence and off the court issues we've seen in the past, but otherwise, yeah, I could maybe see it playing out like that. Yeah. Until next time, tune in. This is Charlie Jimenez and Charles Campbell signing off. Thank you for listening to From the Cheap Seats. As always, I'm your host, Charlie Jimenez. And join me and Max Tomlinson this Friday as we recap the Super Bowl and do a mock draft for the NFL first round draft.